For the example given in section 5, our directions say to multiply and to simplify our answer as much as possible. So what does it mean by multiplying? So if we took out the square root, so if I asked you what is 3 and then x plus y, what do? We would distribute this, and this would be 3x plus 3y. Same exact process with square roots. So I would just multiply the square root of 3 times square root of 14, and then 4 times square root of 3 times 4 square root of 3. Right? So a little bit different notation, but same exact process. So let's go ahead and do it. So the square root of 3 times square root of 14, we're just going to write that down, plus 4, and then square root of 3 times square root of 3. Right? So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to see if we can simplify these numbers any further before we use the multiplication property to combine them. But the square root of 3, there's no perfect square that goes in there, and same thing goes for square root of 14. So I'm going to use the multiplication property, and I'm going to combine it. So what is 3 times 14? That is 52. Right? And then for 4 times the square root of 3 times square root of 3, that will be square root of 9. Right? One thing I want to say, so if you know that if you multiply square root of 3 times square root of 3, when you multiply the square roots, so off on a little right here, so we have square root of 3, so this would be 3 to the 1/2 times 3 to the 1/2. Right? It's also saying what is x to the 1/2, x to the 1/2. What do we know about multiplying similar bases? That we can add the exponents. So 3 and 3, they're the same base. So then I can add the exponent. So I have 3 and then 1/2 plus 1/2. What is 1/2 plus 1/2? It is 1, so this is just 3. Right? So if you see this and you just want to tell me 3 right away, perfectly fine. But for right now, I'm just going to use the multiplication property. Right? So now let's look at the square root of 52, and let's see if we can simplify it any more. So using the same process, the first perfect square that 52 has would be 4. Okay, and if we have 4, this becomes 13, right? Because 4 times 13 is 52. And then let's just bring down 4 square root of 9. Okay. If you want, you can already say 3, but I'm going to take it a step at a time. So for the square root of 4 times 13, what is that? That is 2 times the square root of 13. This I used the multiplication property, broke it up, and the square root of 4 is 2. Okay. And then I'm going to look at 4 square root of 9, that is 3. Okay. So this is 2 square root of 13 plus 12. Right. One of your questions may be, do you have to factor out the 2 and do this? No, you don't have to do that. You can if you want, but that's just an extra step. I will be fine with just this. Right. And then actually, before I could circle it, one last thing we have to do is we have to check the number under the radical, which is 13. And we have to do a little check to see if there's any more perfect squares in there. There's not. So therefore, we know that this is as simple as it can get.